Ecology, we're learning ecology with my friends and me. Ecology. Okay, we rolling? The topic 4 IB curriculum focuses on ecology. Ecology is defined as the study of organism interactions. Essentially, how do organisms interact with each other and their surrounding environment? Take a look at this picture. Can you identify an organism interacting with another organism and/or their environment? If not, you should be able to by the end of this video. The conversation of ecology starts at the species level. A species is identified as a group of organisms that can interbreed and produce fertile offspring. This is possible because members of a species contain a common gene pool, insinuating they are more related to each other than an organism of another species. While this may seem like a simple concept, there are often challenges to this definition based on what is seen in nature. Looking at this picture, let's assume that the deer on both sides of the river can breed and create fertile offspring given the chance. Now, let's say that the deer cannot physically cross the river because it is very deep with a strong current. In that scenario, these two groups of organisms would never have the opportunity to breed because they are isolated. In this case, would you classify them as being the same species? What do you think will happen over time? These types of questions provoke great conversation when studying ecology and are very relevant to research that is being done in the field. Now, looking on a larger scale, if you have multiple members of a species that live in a common area, we call that a population. For example, the population of Chicago is around 2.7 million people. People, aka human beings, being a species that occupies that area. Now, put multiple populations together and have them interact with one another, ecologists call that a community. Looking at this image, we can say that the community interactions in this scenario involve the lion, the buffalo, the grass, and the shrubs in the background. Taking it even one step further, we can include abiotic factors, or all non-living factors like air, water, sunlight, and soil, and that would be studied at the level of an ecosystem. Going back to the species level, a species or organism can either be autotrophic or heterotrophic for their nutrition type. The method of nutrition of an organism describes how that organism obtains nutrients to survive in their environment. Autotrophs are organisms that feed themselves by creating nutrients using inorganic molecules and an energy source. A simple example of this would be any type of plant. Plants use photosynthesis to create molecules that they break down for energy using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide from the air. Because they can make their own food, you won't see them running around to try and catch something to eat for their next meal. On the other hand, heterotrophs are organisms that have to steal nutrients from others in order to survive. One of the most invasive heterotrophs on the planet, humans. We cannot make our own energy, just like this red panda, and have to eat other organisms to supply our bodies and cells with the energy that we need to function. Heterotrophs can be classified further into different important groups based on how they consume other organisms. A consumer is a heterotroph that feeds on living organisms that they ingest. This simply means that the tissue being eaten, either from plants or animals, is swallowed by the consumer and broken down inside the body. Examples include rabbits and lions. Consumers can be broken down further into 3 types: herbivores, which eat only plant material, carnivores, which eat mainly meat from other animals, and omnivores, which eat both plant and animal tissue. It is important to note that consumers only feed on organisms that are living or that have been recently killed. They are not interested in eating dead, rotted tissues. Detritivores are heterotrophs that obtain organic nutrients from dead organisms by internal digestion. The key difference here is that they ingest dead, decaying organic matter, which includes fecal matter. The similarity is that the food is digested inside the body using a digestive system. Examples include snails and crabs. I highly recommend staying away from any IA experiments that involve turning your younger siblings into detritivores. Finally, Saprotrophs are organisms that obtain nutrients from dead organisms by external digestion. They are similar to detritivores because they feed off of dead matter, but the key difference here is that these organisms break down their food externally before it is absorbed. Examples include mushrooms and mycelial cords that can grow under rotting logs. Ecosystems have the potential to be sustainable because matter within an ecosystem is maintained by nutrient cycling. This concept is often referred to as the circle of life. It goes something like this. Nutrients, or molecules, exist in the air and soil that are taken up by plants. Those plants are eaten by animals. Those animals are eaten by other animals, and eventually the animal dies, is decomposed, and the nutrients return to the soil where they originally started. Then, the process repeats. It is important to note that this cycle only happens for the nutrient matter in the ecosystem and not for the energy. More on that in video 4.2. Lastly, scientists study this process in closed ecosystems called mesocosms. Within a mesocosm, the nutrients are cycled between organisms and the sealed environment while energy continuously flows into the system from sunlight. Because the system is closed, meaning there's no matter moving in or out, scientists can create different environmental conditions to conduct ecological research.